Hello, Katie. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. We're assuming a lot of people are just hoping for this recording and will not be attending, which is totally fine. Back to school, all that good stuff. Um, but I'm going to jump on in and you'll receive everything afterwards. And then there'll be time at the end for questions, but feel free to ask them in the chat as well. Um, I'm sure you're aware of a lot of these updates already, but we'll talk through them as we go. So I'm gonna go right on in. Hopefully all of this is working properly. Okay, so we're gonna run through really the main updates to Skillstruck from Launchpad to Voyage, the educator portal, and our Chat for Schools platform. So we'll begin right off the bat with Launchpad. And I'll kind of describe some of these updates, show some visuals, and then we'll peek into the platform as well to support some of these major changes, which is really going to revolve around our tracks. So within Launchpad, there has been an addition of our new tracks to support elementary. So we have a Blocks Pro track, which will be block-based coding. We have a puzzles track, which supports block-based and text-based with JavaScript. The robotics track also supports that transition from block-based to text-based. And then our web development track, of course, is still going to have the opportunity to have block and text, but that's really going to support pushing students into the text-based HTML. Within these new tracks, then there's just been a lot of things built into them to support this work. So there will be new Blocks Pro activities, so more opportunities to practice. There's going to be puzzle builders within the puzzles track. So students will now be able to build out their own puzzles, and they'll be supported with that with some specific challenges with requirements. There is a slight change to the HTML interface within Launchpad, just an easier way to toggle between the two, between block-based and text-based. And then there's been a lot of updates throughout this as well with our Spanish resources. So just being able to translate our blocks guides over into Spanish, a lot of that has been worked on to update all of that to support these different resources. For K2, really the only addition here is going to be the quizzes. So there are now K2 quizzes. And our team is working to have responses available with images alongside. So those are kind of those K2 updates. But what I'll do is I'm going to just kind of break down, sorry, these animations are a little wonky, but I'm just going to break down what these tracks really mean. So K2 is going to remain the same. You're going to have those block-based coding experience for students. You're, of course, going to continue to touch on digital citizenship, safety, all of those good things, and of course, have unplugged activities. For the tracks, they are in order here for what we recommend. So we recommend beginning with Blocks Pro, then puzzles, robotics, web development. Now, teachers, you're going to know where your students are at with computer science. You're going to, if you've been using us in the past, kind of know what their experience has been like. So this is our recommendation, but you can also do what is best for you and your students. The reasoning behind this recommendation is this track, going from Blocks Pro all the way down to web development, is just supporting really that moving from block-based to text-based coding. That Blocks Pro track is going to be full block-based, and then each of the ones that are underneath there are starting to introduce that text-based, that syntax, just really moving beyond that. Within each of these tracks, you will have the option to have the 1 time, 2 to 3 time, and 4 times per month. So you still have that flexibility that way. And also all of those digital citizenship, like internet safety, cybersecurity, passwords, all of that that you've been used to within the other grade level courses are embedded throughout all of these tracks as well. So making sure we're keeping those concepts outside of just coding a part of each track. So that is all built into there. That is the recommended order. But like I mentioned, depending on where you're at with computer science, you know what is best, and it is still very flexible for what you will need. So my next order of business is going to be to just peek into each of these tracks and kind of show you how these lessons will flow and any updates, any new features built into there. What I will mention as well is that while I am showing you these different tracks, I am in the 4 time per month pathway, but just want to reiterate, you do have 1 time, 2 to 3 times, and 4 times per month. So I'll jump on into Blocks Pro. So this is the 4 times per month track here. So this is a way for students to learn different concepts with algorithms, events, loops, conditionals, all of those good things that you also see in puzzles, but it's a different way to learn this. Like I mentioned before, you're still going to be supported with some of these outlier lessons about the internet, computer safety, all that good stuff. Within these lessons, students will be supported with that textbook, text-to-speech, capabilities, of course, to switch over into Spanish, and of course, still having that accessibility feature that can be toggled on and off for students. And we will be supported with an auto-graded quiz throughout the entire experience here. So students will receive immediate feedback, just as they have in the past with our different grade level courses. After a student completes a quiz, they will then dive into the Blocks Pro challenges. There will be new additions to some of these challenges to choose from just based off of the content that is being taught. And of course, within this coding environment, we have our requirements on the left-hand side, our code options, costume sounds, our sprites, and our backdrops. There also has been an update. There was a little bit of an issue with the drawing tool that is all updated and ready to go, working, and will also be, there's also lessons to support the drawing tool as well. So there will be specific challenges to kind of introduce that whole concept there. With this, I would like to also mention that there is that blocks guide that is available in text-to-speech. There's a lot of blocks here to really understand, and it's also available to be printed out. So really encourage that to be printed off, maybe paste it around your classroom, and that blocks guide will be available in Spanish also. Textbook, of course, can be toggled on and off as well, alongside those challenges for your students. Auto-graded feature as well in here, just as there was before if you ever played with the Blocks Pro in the past. After Blocks Pro, the recommended track would be to go into our puzzles. There's been a change to just how students go through the puzzles because there is now a puzzle builder. So everything that you are used to with our puzzles, with the drag and drop coding, with the option to switch on over into the syntax is all the same within that coding environment. So you'll still have that same interface, that same feel, instructions, textbook, answer keys, step by step, and that ability to move on over into that syntax. But the main addition to this track is going to be the building of your own puzzle. So for this, students will first learn about the design process, really get a feel for generating ideas, practicing things, problem solving, all that good content that comes with the design process. And then they'll jump into some different lessons in which they will start building out their own puzzles. So for this, they're going to start building out some puzzles that will revolve around different events, supported with a quiz, of course. And then within the puzzles here, they will go in and they will build out their own. I didn't sift through far enough. There we go. They will build their own puzzle. So this will now be called Puzzle Builders. So after they learn about events, then they will go and build their own events. On the left-hand side, you will see their requirements for building these different puzzles. So we're creating a puzzle for our characters to complete using a theme and grid size, and then we have to make sure we're completing all the requirements below. So I can change my different columns, my different rows. I can select the theme that I'm most interested in, and then I can go through and make sure I am adding the different requirements. And as I add those, it will mark off as a check mark, and I can continue to move through this, fulfilling all of my requirements, and then being able to test that out. From here, I will note probably a very, very good practice to get your students into saving that puzzle so they can come back to it later if they don't finish in one class setting. Like I mentioned before, with that experience with Blocks Pro, you can always see the challenge and then the textbook can be toggled back and forth. All right, so those are the updates to the puzzles that are most important as you kind of navigate through these new tracks. Again, you're going to still have that experience of that block and syntax. The puzzle experience is going to be very similar when students are learning about algorithms and events, but we have this addition now to be in that puzzle builder. Then we have our robotics track, which I think might have got mixed up here. So robotics is going to be our third recommended track. When you are in the robotics platform, you will see the 1 time per month, 2 to 3, and 4 times, just as you did with the others. And within here, of course, you're still going to see things like cyberbullying, digital footprint, making sure we're continuing to follow those digital citizenship and safety topics. Within these lessons, if you have used robotics before, nothing too big has changed here. They'll be supported with their textbook. This is compatible with the microbit, so they'll learn all about that. The simulator will be on the screen. We can connect to that physical device, and they'll be supported with those challenges. On the left-hand side, you're going to continue to see your requirements. And then there'll be those step-by-step directions. Something to highlight here as we're really trying to make that transition from block to text-based coding is, of course, leaning on these modes. So as you know, robotics is this third recommended track. It will be important to really continue to support students with flipping those modes, encouraging them to at least look at them, become familiar with that, and being able to do some coding in this really fun, engaging, but text-based capabilities here within the robotics piece. So really the main things here are those modes to support your transition from block-based to text-based, but also now within robotics, within these tracks, you're still hitting things like cybersecurity and digital footprint. All right, and finally moving on into our last recommended track for our elementary students is our web development track. Of course, it's available in all of those different times per month that I have mentioned many times. But what you can expect throughout the web development course is that you're really focusing on HTML. And then, of course, you're touching on those digital citizenship components also. Within our HTML, you're going to have a very similar flow that you are used to when you got to those HTML lessons within 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, where you'll be supported with a textbook. Students will have a code checkpoint where they'll do a quick check for understanding, a smaller amount of code to be included before they jump into their challenges. Now, something to note here is that there has been just a slight change into this like coding environment here. So you're still going to have that option to have that drag and drop, still going to translate over onto the right hand bottom corner. But now you can simply have it side by side right there from this view, rather than having to go into your code settings in the profile and flip it on over into text-based. You simply have this easy way to go from block to text-based and also have a bigger screen for your students to be working on within Launchpad with HTML. Something that I did mention the other day within a training that I heard from some team members was new learning for them. So I'm going to go with it here. Is that, in case you didn't know this in the past, if students ever throw away their code into this delightful trash can, you can open that trash can up and bring it back. So if your students are those who like to get frustrated with technology and delete or throw things away, I've been there, used to teach technology, and they're going to throw a tantrum because they don't know where it went. You can go to their trash can and help them bring that back. So in case you didn't know that, hopefully you learned something new today with that. That trash can will hold the trashed code that you can drag back. Within web development, then you're of course going to be supported with that auto-graded quiz. and then those challenges that you're used to seeing within HTML. So those are kind of the updates, some of those new features within those different tracks. You will, of course, still be supported with playgrounds as well. So if you are working through, the HTML course or robotics, but you still want students to build some puzzles or have that blank slate to just go in and create, or you want to do things some cross-curricular ways, of course, you still have access to all of those playgrounds, no matter which track you're working in. So there's still a little bit of that freedom there for you to spice things up as you would like. All right, within the web development course, I'll also just mention it will go into different concepts such as algorithms and conditionals, just to make sure we're continuing to meet the standards that we are required to meet for you all. Okay, so that is Launchpad. You've probably received some communication about those tracks. That's a brief overview of kind of the why and what to expect with some of those changes. If you continue to need some support with that, please reach out to support or your customer success manager, and we'll help you navigate some of these new changes. With that, I just want to mention that you probably have seen communication as well, that those 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade options will continue throughout this school year to kind of support the transition from grade level into these different tracks. So you can be supported that way, but if you're ready to make the jump and get through this year, we're a little bit flexible. Okay, let's move on and see what more I can get done in 12 minutes. So we've got Voyage. So there have been some updates to Voyage. These are a little bit easier to kind of navigate than all those different tracks. But within Voyage, we have added some new courses. And we also have a complete software and web development pathway for grades 6 through 12 without having any content repeat for our students. So I'm going to just go through what that looks like. Updates to note, we do have a new course. We have Python Turtles, which is a really nice visual way to learn Python. We also have an Exploring Computer Science course. We had one in the past with the same name, but this is a new update to that. Within Web Development 1 specifically, we have updated a lot of our code challenges, all brand new. So if you have done some web development in the past and you're looking for something a little bit fresh, check those out. There's also been some additions to some semester and year-long courses where we have added some life and culture connections, just helping to make better connections between coding, computer science, and the real world. And we have new course names. So this is where things will get a little bit interesting. But first, with our 6th through 12th grade pathway, we have now, we have now a pathway here in which no content will repeat. So going from a software development path and a web development path, and then we have some of those helpful courses for both. But all of this content here will not repeat for students. So if you're looking for a way to go from 6 to 12 without any overlapping concepts, this is your pathway. So in the past, there has been some overlap just due to state-specific courses or certain specific standards we are meeting. And this is what we can turn to if you really want to have a pathway where nothing repeats for our students. All right, and then with our new naming, and you're going to receive these resources. So if you haven't been informed by your customer success manager quite yet, or you haven't had your training yet, this is something that will be discussed with you all. But these are some of our previous course names and their new course names. So this is just going to lead you in the direction of, oh, if you've been teaching creative coding, now the course is going to be Exploring Computer Science. I will jump on over into Voyage just to briefly describe where to find some of these resources, but won't hang out in here too long. So of course, on the left-hand side are going to be your courses. State-specific is organized by state-specific, and then we have those pathway courses that were mentioned before, and then of course, your industry-based certifications as well. With this Python Turtles course, just kind of give you a brief preview of what that will entail. You will have your lessons on the left-hand side, and then you will have kind of a new looking terminal to support the Python turtles there. So it'll be a lot of visual, it'll be a lot of drawing and different fun things to get students engaged a little bit earlier on with Python, than going right into that spooky Python terminal, that's what I like to call it. But what I would like to just note here is that you as a teacher or you supporting teachers, you're still going to have access to answer keys. So you can continue to do what you're used to with if you would like good examples for students, you have those answer keys built into the platform where you can copy and paste to have good examples for your classes. And you'll have that explain it feature as well to really understand right alongside your students why these answers are the correct answer. So you still will have a lot of support there within your courses, within any of these new concepts. Okay, moving on to the educator portal, which is really the main update here that I want to just really make it clear is that for all these new Launchpad tracks, for the new Voyage courses, you are supported with lesson plans, just as you are used to with our other courses, with our other grade level classes. So warm-up activities, teacher demonstration time, class activities, unplugged, all of that good stuff is still included within all of these new updates within that educator portal. And of course, that new curriculum is added into the managed curriculum component. Moving on into Chat for Schools. If you are a Chat for Schools user, you probably already know that there have been updates consistently throughout the release of Chat for Schools. We are continuing to update that to our classrooms, to our school district needs, and of course, staying up to date with any trends with AI and education. But the updates that are most important to note is our new tutor creator interface, our progress dashboard, our tutor bank, and then our admin dashboard. So within our Chat for Schools platform, specifically within Tutor Creator, if you haven't peeked in here in a while, there is just a new format for creating the tutor. So on the left-hand side, you'll be able to fill in all of your tutor names, your learning standards or your subject and topic materials, your grade levels, any additional resources, all the things that you are used to there. But what you'll notice is you'll be able to view a preview on the right-hand side. So it will preview what the tutor is going to begin with. You can also interact with the tutor. So if you would like to see what kind of responses it is going to provide your students before you even export it to your sections, you're able to play around with it a little bit there. And then if it's not really to where you would like it to be, you can go back on that left-hand side and continue editing that. With that as well, we've added the component to generate a quiz alongside that tutor. So that quiz is going to pull from your subject or topic learning materials and create a formative assessment for your students to complete. You can add any answers. You can edit any of the answers or the questions. So you can edit that as you see fit, and you can add questions as well. And then once that is exported to your students through Chat for Schools, they'll be required to have a certain amount of interactions with that tutor until that formative assessment unlocks. Then they can take that formative assessment, view how they've performed on it, and continue their interactions with the tutor. So just because they finished the tutor interaction doesn't mean that they are done interacting with the tutor. They can continue to seek support as needed. And with that, I will also mention that you can share your tutors with a shareable link. And we also have been building out a tutor bank where now you can share tutors to a community, and you can also seek tutors from the community to add to your own resources that have been created by other teachers that are using Chat for Schools. That will be a little bit more in depth of how to access and share all of that with your trainings and with any upcoming webinars with Chat for Schools. On the educator side of Chat for Schools, we now have an admin dashboard where you're able to view the usage of Chat for Schools within your site. And we also have the capability through our progress dashboard to view tutor interactions. So prior to adding this capability, you've been able to view how students are progressing through those lessons. And now you're able to view how they're interacting with their tutors. So you'll be able to view the score on that quiz that I had mentioned. So if you do have that quiz attached to it, you'll be able to view the score. And then further, you're going to be able to view the full interaction and submission between the tutor and your student. So on the left-hand side, you'll be able to view that full interaction between them and whatever specific tutor you are sifting through. And on the right-hand side, you'll be able to view how they performed on that formative assessment. So you'll get some insight on where you may need to connect with your students on certain topics that were tied into the learning standards that you use to create those tutors. And you can easily sift through these as a class, as a section, by just going through these back and forward arrows. All right, so that is a lot of information. I think there was one more thing I was going to share. Yes, okay. Within Chat for Schools, also, we have the 5-week AI certification course. So that is in the lesson view, in the unit 5-week Chat for Schools AI certification. And it will walk through really your first 5 weeks of using Chat for Schools with your students. And it'll really get really in depth into some different creative ways to use Chat for Schools and really honing in on prompt engineering, really getting teachers a confident feel for using AI and Chat for Schools with their students. All right. Feel like it's a sprint and not a marathon today. But what I would really like to have us end on is that we are always here to support you, your teachers, your districts, whatever you may need. And we know that back to school is busy and there are probably things that you are not even considering that may happen within the next few weeks. So I just want to reiterate to use that support chat feature that is available within your educator portal. It'll pop up like wherever you are navigating, you use that. We have a team of support. They are live, they are real humans. They are willing to support you with anything that you need, from understanding the new course names to debugging anything to working with you on any integration issues. So use that support feature, and you can always email support@skillstruck.com or reach out to your area customer success manager. They're here to support you as well. And we also have some upcoming webinars that are always a great place to just connect and get some creative ideas or get more comfortable with the platforms. The next one will be a project-based learning workshop hosted by myself. So you'll be stuck with me again. But this virtual webinar will be all about how you can use Chat for Schools, like the chat feature, the tutor creator, different resources built into there to be able to plan project-based learning units. The number one thing that I have found in the past when I taught project-based learning is it is time consuming, and we can luckily use AI to support some of our planning to create really great project-based learning units. So that's what the next one will be in September. So if you are a Chat for Schools user, or if you are just an AI user in general and you need some ideas for using something as simple as a chat feature to support you with planning as you get into the swing of things this year, that will be a great one to attend. And I know our team is also coming up with some more creative webinars in the beginning of the year to just get everyone comfortable and really excited about teaching with computer science and with AI. So keep your eyes on the skillstruck.com/events page. Okay, I went 1 minute over, but that's not too bad. Any questions before I let you all go? All right. Also want to reiterate, you'll get this recording, the slide deck. So if this is going to be helpful for your teachers, your coaches, anyone else in your district, feel free to share that with them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.